What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Rustomod. We have finally got the new shop done enough so that way we can work on some project cars in this thing. Now I want to give you guys a quick shop tour of this thing, give you a little update on the channel, and show you guys all the stuff we're going to be working on in the future. So stay tuned, I'll show you guys the new shop. So if you guys remember, I purchased this property that the shop is on, and it has my house on it, and I have been working on the house constantly behind the scenes trying to get that thing livable. It's finally livable. I finally moved in. So then I started going crazy on the shop, trying to get all this stuff in here so that way we can start getting to work. So you guys saw me put the lift in, and that's pretty simple. It's a 4-post lift and it's able to actually roll around. And I wanted that in here because this shop is pretty small, and especially with the racks on here, it's a little bit limited on space, but we can fit 3 cars in here comfortably. And if I ever need to move the 4-post out of the way to get some more room, I have that option, and I can just roll it outside or roll it anywhere, move it to the middle so I can get completely around it. It's a really nice thing that I recommend getting for a garage with lower ceilings like I have, so that way we can work on cars but then be able to store stuff under it too. So that's a huge bonus. Now I am able to fit 3 cars in here and still have plenty of room to be able to work in front, which is really nice. That's kind of the setup that I wanted, but I can still utilize the lift and be able to do stuff underneath. Now it's a 4-post lift, so you're not gonna be able to take off wheels and tires without the assistance of some special jacks and stuff, but we have quick jacks that I'm trying to probably make work on that, and that's probably gonna solve that problem. So we're not gonna be doing full builds in this building. We're gonna just be doing small stuff, kind of like the Buick, this Corvette here, and a bunch of little small stuff that we have on the channel. Not everything needs a full chassis swap that we have, and we're gonna be doing the full chassis swap stuff at the big shop. So all the big builds like the Rambler, the Willys, the F-250 Sasquatch truck, and the unibody truck eventually will be done at that shop where we have all the CNC machining and everything like that. Here we can just wrench on stuff, show you guys kind of garage style builds with like the Corvette here, the Buick, and some other stuff that we have on the channel. All right, so let me give you guys a little bit of a walk around of the new shop to show you guys how it's set up. Now, from the beginning, the biggest thing that I wanted in here was these storage racks. I really am limited on floor space, so all the stuff, parts, and all the parts that I have for cars and stuff that I need to store, I didn't want on the floor, so that way it would be on top of cars and it would just clutter up the working space. I wanted everything up high and tucked away and organized. So I'm still going through and organizing stuff. It's not super organized right now, but it's kind of where I need it for the time being. So I picked up these storage racks on Facebook Marketplace for like $200 to $300, and they were pretty good shape, so I snagged them. And I really like how it's set up in here. So these are 8 foot long and they're 4 foot wide, which is really nice. So you can store a ton of stuff on them. There's a lot of room to be able to push stuff back, like wheels and stuff that you don't normally get to. I can stick up there, out of the way, and it's off the floor of the shop. I have this one going over the door, so stuff that I really hardly ever use can go up there. Then what's nice also is you can put your toolbox under it. So instead of having a full workbench under here, I just moved the shelf up, slid my toolbox under it, and I have this surface to be able to work off of. Now I'm gonna actually do like a mat kind of thing with wood underneath of it, so I can have a good work surface to be able to do all kinds of small things that I need a work table for. So this will probably be a full workstation where I can do all that kind of stuff. Now above it is nice because I can store all the parts for cars and everything like that that I need to be able to keep off the floor. So in this section, I basically just have all fuel stuff that I really don't want getting all the clean parts dirty with and stuff like that. I have bins organized for each car, and then on this section, these are all the parts that are going into various vehicles that we have here. So What's nice is all the boxes that come in with parts, I can put them up here, they're out of the way, but at least they're grouped together in what car they're gonna go into, which is pretty nice to have. So with the toolbox area, I'm gonna make this where it has all the tools, chargers, and everything like that that I need to be on this side. And then over here, I'm gonna have like assembly area if we're doing carburetors or some kind of thing that needs small assembly stuff, or even organizing bolts and stuff. I have this full 8-foot by 4-foot surface to be able to organize all that stuff onto, so that's really nice. Underneath of it, we have spare engines and everything else that's dirty that can go underneath, so it's nice to have that kind of aspect to the storage as well. And then up top, we can go all the way to the ceiling and put whatever we need to put up there, where we have car parts, wheels, anything that we don't normally get to can go all the way up top. Now for my toolbox, I actually snagged this thing at Home Depot. It was a Black Friday deal, and I tried to find the biggest toolbox I could fit in here, because at the big shop I have a really small toolbox and it completely overflows. Once I buy a toolbox, I think I have the size that I need. I ended up running out of room. So this Husky toolbox from Home Depot was a pretty good deal. It's a really nice toolbox. And what's nice about it is if you get the mechanic set, it has all of your tools in foam and they're already labeled and organized, which is a huge problem for me. So every time I grab a socket, I know exactly where it goes and I know which one's missing. So that's a huge help. And it's really kind of handy to have all this kind of stuff. It comes with a lot of stuff and it's cheap enough at Home Depot. I'm not the kind of guy that's gonna spend $1 million on a Snap-on toolbox, so this will get me by perfectly fine for what I normally need. So a really cool thing about purchasing this shop is it actually came with this welding table, and it's a really nice 8-foot long welding table, and it fits perfectly right under the storage rack. So I could fit my welder underneath the table and then do all kinds of cutting, fabrication stuff on this table that I need to do. Small stuff that I can just do in the garage, and then if it's bigger than this, I can obviously take it to the bigger shop. But I'm using the rack to organize all my clamps and house all the stuff that I need for fabrication stuff. Up top, I can even put stuff up here where I can put all kinds of materials or anything else that I need to be able to access and fabricate stuff down here. The only drawback is this table isn't on dollies, so it can't move out. That might be a future modification, because if there's anything big that I need to make, I can roll the table out and then get around the entire thing. But for now, it sits perfectly in this little spot underneath the rack, so it's really nice to be able to have a big surface to cut and grind and weld and do any kind of fabrication stuff on. So I really like this table. It's really thick and it is super heavy, so getting it in here was a little bit of a challenge, but it worked pretty well. So moving on to the far corner of the shop, this is kind of where I'm storing all of the liquids and stuff. So I actually snagged these old refrigerators, which are really cool, from the guy that we actually did a junkyard video where the guy actually had a collection of old Nashes and a bunch of old early Ford parts and a bunch of really neat stuff. He had these refrigerators in a barn and they had a really cool patina. He wasn't doing much with them and the barn was actually falling down. So we actually snagged these. They're a little bit dented up, but they're pretty cool, and I thought I could use them as storage shelves. So inside, I actually have all of our Sweet Patina stuff in here. So I can store all of the Sweet Patina detailing stuff in here really easily. And it's in a really cool old Patina refrigerator. So I got 2 of these. I have this one, and then I have this smaller one, which this one doesn't have shelves in it. So I'm probably going to make some kind of shelves in it, clean it out, and organize that with some other stuff that I need to put in there. So these are pretty sweet. I got these pretty inexpensive and they look really cool in the old shop here. And then obviously I have oils and everything else on that one, which might get transferred into that refrigerator, and then an actual functioning refrigerator. So kind of cool. I did the whole Sweet Patina kit on this refrigerator and it looks cool. Those colors really pop out from that old Patina from sitting for so long in a barn. It was pretty neat. So on this wall, I hung up my Rustomod signs, all of our great friends and companies that we've worked with, like Sweet Patina, Automail Direct. So we have a bunch of flyers that I want to kind of stick all over the wall, fill the whole walls up, because I really don't like the block on the walls, but I think it'll be pretty cool if we could hang a bunch of stuff completely covering the whole walls. On the back, My buddy Lance actually gave me this front grille off of an F100 that I thought was pretty cool. And then we found this Texaco sign, which is really neat. I need to do the patina sauce on this because I think it'll come out really cool. This Texaco sign was actually a local town that isn't a town even anymore. So it's really old, pretty desirable. So I thought it'd go really cool in the new shop to kind of match all the patina of all the other stuff that we have in here. So a quick update on all the vehicles that we're working on. So if you guys didn't see the video, this C3 was actually stored in a garage for 20 years. We actually redid the whole thing. It had fresh paint on it and someone tore the whole thing apart and didn't have time to put the whole thing back together. So it sat in a garage for 20 years. And the paint is actually really nice on this thing compared to most of the other stuff that we have. But my fiance Julia actually really loves this car and this is gonna be hers. So we're going to redo this whole thing because it has a really bad lifter. So that's probably going to be one of the first projects that we work on in this garage, is tearing this motor apart and putting new lifters and a bunch of other stuff in this motor so that way we can get her going on the road. Now I actually do have some really cool suspension stuff coming for this car, and we're trying to update all the interior stuff. Whenever we got the car, there was no interior in it, and we actually had all the interior in boxes. So a local interior shop that we're really good friends with put all the interior together and it came out really nice. This is actually a very, very nice car, and the white on the blue interior looks really good. So we're trying to do this thing correctly, and we're gonna put a radio in it. We gotta kind of do all the little cosmetic stuff. So the car actually runs and drives really good. The only problem is that lifter. So first thing we're gonna do in this garage is start tearing apart the top end of this thing, getting new lifters in it. Makes great oil pressure, so I think that will probably solve the problem of this thing. We have a new radiator, we have suspension, wheels and tires, and a few other things to go on this, but as it sits, it's a running and driving car, and it's a really nice cruiser. So for example, we're gonna take all the parts that go onto this thing. I can organize them here on the table so I don't lose track of where everything is, and then put them right back on the car. So that's the reason the Corvette is off the lift. Usually it stays up there so it doesn't get scratched. The unibody is up there just sitting because the unibody is one of those cars where it's kind of a dream car of mine and I want to do it right. So not to say that I don't do any of the other projects right, I just don't really know the path that I want to go with it. And if I do what I think I want to do now, later on I might want to do something different, and I really want to spend my time trying to figure out and plan what I want to do with this car. So it's going to sit here and look cool up there on the lift for a little bit, so that way I can plan how I really want to build this thing. My original idea was to make the thing all-wheel drive, like the all-wheel drive C10, and I'm still leaning to do something like that, but I'm just not sure of what I really want to do with it. So it's gonna sit up there until I figure out what I want to do with it, but we got a ton of other stuff to build in the meantime. The other stuff that we got to build in the meantime is the Rambler. Now the Rambler runs and drives, and it drives about as best as it ever has. The thing was rushed together. We had tried to build it for the first Hot Rod Power Tour and we didn't make it. We missed it by a couple weeks. We actually built this entire car with a Corvette chassis and completely custom everything in 2 months. So there was a lot of corners cut, and the biggest thing is the wiring. So we're gonna go through the whole Rambler and redo basically everything on it. So we got to make this thing dialed in because I'm taking this on Hot Rod Power Tour this year. It's finally going to make it. Didn't make it last year, didn't make it the year before, but I'm determined to get this thing ready to go for Hot Rod Power Tour this year. So it's kind of the perfect car for Hot Rod Power Tour because you can drag race it, you can autocross it. It has a ton of room in it to put all the luggage and stuff that you take on a Power Tour. It's a really good car for it. So it's got to go on Power Tour this year, but there's a lot of stuff that it needs. So that's what we got to get this thing dialed in. And that's going to be the next big project on the YouTube channel. Before we get the Rambler done, we have a few other things that we have to do, and we got to do them soon because Power Tour is coming up. Now, you guys remember our 50 wheelies that we had built last year. Now, that was our big build for the year, and the thing came out really good. We took it on Power Tour and it ended up blowing a head gasket. Now that has a Volkswagen turbo diesel in it, and it's on a Jeep Wrangler chassis. So we had built the whole thing and it wasn't really a rush build, but we just didn't know much about the engine that was in it. So in the next few episodes, we're going to actually swap a different motor into the wheelies, a bigger, better Volkswagen TDI, and try to get that thing going because it has been off the road since last year's Patina party, and I really want to get that thing back because we had finished it up and we never really got a chance to enjoy the thing. So we're swapping the motor in the wheelies first. That's happening very soon. The other thing that's happening very soon is the Buick build. The Buick build is kind of a tinker build because it's not really a huge build, but I really like doing it. It's really enjoyable, and I'm gonna get that thing going so we can do some burnout contests and drag racing and stuff in the future. So I'm really excited to get that done, but it's not as a priority as some of these bigger things that we have on the channel. So the Buick is happening, the Rambler is happening, but the Willys is gonna get the engine swap first. The other thing that's gonna happen very soon is the Corvette. We're gonna try to get that thing ready to go for car show season and do all kinds of trips with it and stuff like that. So I wanna get all three of those cars done before I start the Rambler, because the Rambler is gonna take some time because I really wanna take my time and do this thing correctly. So I have a new fuel cell for it. I have a bunch of new parts for this thing, and it's gonna be really awesome, but I gotta get time to do it. So the Willys and all the other projects have to get done first, so that way we can work on the Rambler. After we get done with the Rambler, then we're gonna finally work on the Sasquatch F250. Sasquatch F250 is one of my favorite vehicles on the channel. It is the vehicle that started the channel. We found this thing in the woods, and it's what prompted us to actually make a YouTube channel in general. So it has a lot of sentimental value to me, and it's just sitting here. So if you guys remember, we actually turboed this thing and put a Max Speeding Rods turbo on the original Y block in this thing and shot a bunch of flames and stuff, but didn't really do much after that because I had a really big plan of coyote swapping this thing, and that's gonna happen after we get the Rambler done. Kind of a change of plans on this thing. I picked up a new chassis for it that you guys are gonna see very soon whenever we start that thing, and we're going to put a coyote in that. So it's gonna be really awesome. This chassis that I got is really neat. It's gonna help a ton with drivability of this thing. This thing I should be basically able to daily drive and have a lot of power, but be able to tow stuff, and it's gonna be a really, really awesome truck. Absolutely love the look of this truck. Nothing about the appearance is going to change. It's just gonna be completely modern underneath, and it's gonna be really awesome. I can't wait to tow cars with it and go to car shows with it across country, because I'm trying to make this thing as dead nuts reliable as I can, and doing a full modern chassis underneath of it with a modern Coyote engine is gonna be really awesome. I don't think I've ever seen one done to this extent before, and I'm really excited to get to it. This blue F100 sits here. It's actually going to Australia. I just picked it up as a quick flip, me and my buddy Lance, and I haven't really done much to it. We did get it running, and it's a cool truck. I think I might steal the bed cap off of it and put it on the Sasquatch. It's actually a really cool bed cap. It's a Winnebago, and we believe that this truck was optioned with this bed cap on it. It's been on the truck since probably brand new. It's a vintage Winnebago cap. It's pretty sweet. So I think I might try to put that on the back of the F250, and then we can store a bunch of stuff in it if we do power tour or something like that with the F250 in the future. This poor Silverado is still sitting here. It's just a parts truck. I wanted the engine out of it and a bunch of other stuff for future projects, but it's still sitting there. I need the part the thing out, and then that trailer is Lance's. So that's a quick update on the new shop. We're ready to start working on this thing. So I gotta get to work on all these vehicles that I was talking about. So I can't wait to show you guys all the progress that we make in this thing. It's a really big step to be able to do car stuff and have a dedicated shop for car stuff, especially doing my kind of lifestyle where I have a bunch of projects to work on. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode when we're wrenching in the new shop. See you then.